What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the shed. Happy Wednesday. Cruising through this week. It has been a tremendous one so far. Lots of growth going on in my world. I've listened to some really good books lately. Sometimes I'll go in these spurts where I'll listen to a lot of books and then I won't listen to anything. I'll just reflect on what I've been reading and absorb it for a while and what I think about it and putting it through my process. One of the books I was reading by Joe Vitale called Zero Limits had this quote in it at the very end. There's a section that Dr. Hugh Lin reads, and he reads the quote, which is the title of this video, which is "I am the self-consumer of my woes." It's from a fascinating poem by John Clare called "I Am." I had not heard of this before today, so I read it. I have a picture of it on my phone now, actually, because I just thought it was super interesting. And this morning, as I've gone through my work day and on a walk, I was thinking about that of I am the self-consumer of my woes. Hmm. If you let that rest on you, it is so true. We we feed them to ourselves from our own mind and we buy into them with our own hearts, and then we just create a life with no love, no joy, no peace. No sense of humor, no ability to stand up under any pressure. Just you destroy yourself with them. You convince yourself you're completely broken when you truly buy into and fully consume your woes. What's interesting is the stuff your brain is feeding you, the woes we create, it's not that they're not true. It's just one viewpoint, and it's this only one, and you're the one living it out. You're the one living from the inside. And statement I heard my dad say, it's hard to read your label from the inside of the bottle. And it is. When you're the one living it out, when it's your life, when you're on the inside of it, it almost seems like everything you do is completely normal. And everything happening to you is completely normal until you look behind it all and think about, where did you come from? Why are you the way you are in all the ways you are? Peeling the proverbial onion layers back to see. It's a gift that we have as humans where we can peel the layers of ourselves back and take a look. And I'll tell you, if you do this, it doesn't matter if you like what you find. What does matter is if you become responsible for it. If you don't become responsible for it, you'll be a self-consumer of your woes. You'll then hold this thing in you that you can't handle, and it's just terrible or the worst thing. And I'm not saying it's not a horrendous thing. The history of existence on this planet, horrible things have happened to humans. Horrible things have been done to humans by other humans. That's usually the source of delivery. And if you look at a trace, a scarlet cord, look at a thread that runs through all of those, all the people that perpetuate that. It's just a bunch that have bought into their woes. They are convinced that this thing that has happened to them gives them justification to make something happen to a bunch of other people. That's the real issue with woes, is not when you consume them, you force them on others. Now, everything you can't handle is a filter that you're going to look through out to the world. And you'll decide, do I like this? Do I not like this? Does it make me feel good? Does it make me not feel good? And the longer you don't let things go, you store more stuff on top, and you get grumpier and grumpier and grumpier and grumpier and grumpier because you make life so hard to bring you any pleasure and to fit this super tiny little mold, that if it's only this little thing, if I can just experience this little thing, I'll be happy. You're only going to be happy once every decade, right? The more rules you put around what allows you to have joy, love, and peace, and you don't have to have any. That's how you make it unending. But whatever rules that you put around it, and you force this 13.8 billion year old existence we're currently having to fit that tiny little narrative that you've only been here for a short period of time, we can't even process as much information as is happening at one time throughout the universe right now. Impossible. We just see it from these tiny viewpoints. The first part of that is letting that settle. Will you let that settle? Or will you deflect it? Will you say, ah, it's not for me? Nah, it's not. What's funny I've learned in my life is I still do that. And typically it happens where at the right timing, oh, okay, that's for me now. So I don't really worry about it anymore, right? Like when you get about the business of living and be open to your life each day, because it only comes at us a day at a time. You get up. Your promise to yourself every day is that you wake up and you show up for yourself. You help you understand what's actually happening and who you are, so you know how you're going to go about your day. Do it today. Promise yourself you'll wake up and do it again tomorrow. And that's it. That's really how you go about life. There's no way to rush through it. There's just no way to make it go faster. Adam Sandler's movie Click, not possible. And you wouldn't want it. Right? It's said as a statement, but I hear it a lot. People saying, I can't wait for this. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to be home. This is happening in a few weeks. Oh, I just can't wait till it happens, right? You don't realize what you're saying, but when you're saying I can't wait over and over and over again, you literally begin wishing moments of your life away. That because there's this exciting thing that you put on your calendar in what we call the future, you're now going to make the moments between now and then less valuable. Why? Because you're not doing that thing on that day. What you're doing on a particular day isn't what makes a day valuable. It can't be, because there's a video that's about has Michael Jordan's stats, and it talks about how many times he had the chance to shoot the game-winning shot, how many times he made it, how many times he didn't make it. It's not that often, right? There, like when you boil down someone's career into their best moments, how many do you have? How many make those highlight reels? And there's always a hierarchy of them that we pick out. The person who experiences it, it's up to them. But there seems to be a hierarchy of how we'll pick it, where there's that one moment that, oh my God. Well, if you are constantly waiting on that one moment, shoot. One, it taints all the other moments. And you worry, was that it? Is my life over now? Have I lived my best? Our experience throughout our existence is definitely not equal, right? Our bodies age, we go through stuff. There's like peaks and valleys all along the way before it ends. So it's not really being unrealistic about how life rolls out. but it's being grateful for each moment that you get to wake up, that we're not wishing them away, because that's not helpful to wish them away. It's not helpful to take life and say, I can't wait for this, because we just start instilling in ourselves this hurry. And then we hope for everything just to go as smooth as possible until we get there. And then we just want the trip to go as smooth as possible. And if it doesn't, now it's personal. And then again, just because we put something on our calendar out into what we call the future, now we put this measuring device against every day until it gets here. And it changes moment by moment depending on our mood. Doesn't play fair, and we create it in our minds. And sometimes we will then go on that vacation or whatever we're doing, and then we'll self-sabotage when we get on it. That's a fascinating thing to see and do. Guilty. When you're not living in a way where you know yourself and understand who you are, you will literally stress yourself out all the way till it gets there. When it gets here, then you'll go on the trip, and then you'll feel guilty about feeling good, and you'll self-sabotage. You'll just and it shows up in all kinds of forms. You get sick, you get depressed, you get something. One of the things that you've stored inside gets bumped, and now down or angry, makes everybody else uncomfortable. It takes away your joy, love, and peace, and everybody else's. And it was all self-created. Back to the title of the video. You are the consumer of your woes. I am the consumer. I am the self-consumer of my woes. In the end, they're your woes. They're mine. What bothers me in life has to do with me. I'm the one feeling it and choosing to be bothered by it. I don't have to. I don't come being bothered by it. Something is making me feel bothered by it. Naturally, there's no blockage in your life. You're in flow state. If you look at a child and the way they're going, as a parent, I'm trying to do the best I can not to put any blockages in their life. Teach them things in their basis levels that they're going to think and clog their life up with forever. No, that changes with me. Had that happen. I work on it every day to release that kind of stuff. Because that's truly what's possible each day, is to unclog yourself. You put it in there, you can let it go. Heads up, however you installed it in there, and this has to do with negative things and things that make you super happy. This is about not getting bounced all around. But whatever put it in there takes it out, right? So if it's a painful experience, it will be painful when you experience it. So it launched it there. And how you handle stuff like that is letting life naturally bring it up. Like, you don't have to go off and do the hard stuff. This is something that Mickey Singer talks about. I heard him talk about it this past Sunday. He calls it the low-hanging fruit. Go after the stuff, the little things that bother you. Just notice throughout the day when you're bothered. And ask yourself, okay, what's bothering me, and why is that bothering? Why? Where'd it come from? If the answer is ever because that's what I was told, or that's how I was raised, or any of that, not good enough. You need to understand, if you are going to apply it to yourself and then especially instill it in your kids, why? What is the purpose? Where did it come from? If it didn't come from somewhere good, do not keep it going. It's up to you to stop it. You know how you keep terrible things from crossing from generation to generation? The ones of us who had it done to them, we don't do it. And the ones who never had it, don't start. Just because something was done to you is not a reason to do it to somebody else. Good enough. In the end, that you have to get off that train, because where does it stop? Where does it end? It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy over and over and over again as it flops back and forth. Are the self-consumer of your woes. You don't have to consume them. That's the beautiful thing about this poem. When you go into the rest of it, I'm not going to read it because you need to read it. Look up John I Am by John Clare. And the final lines, it talks about what he's trying to get back to. This is what I talk about when you're a kid. It's funny, before puberty, you are really you. You live and run and you do all these things. You are not bothered by the reality of thinking about yourself. You don't even think about yourself in the same way. And because when you start to think about you in that way, then you start thinking about others thinking about you. Well, if I'm doing this, then everybody else is thinking about me too. That's the false part. Everybody is thinking about themselves. That's the reality. And that you accepted it just fine when you were a kid. You didn't even worry about what anybody else thought because you were busy thinking about you and what you thought about the world and what was going on. And you weren't trying to fill it with decisions and names and calling it stuff. You were truly experiencing each moment. Look, Zero Limits, it talks about living between inspiration or memory. I love that comparison, because if you're living only from memory, you need to let go. You need to let go. That's not what memories are for. It's not to try to make life keep fitting them. It's, oh, what an incredible experience. Let it go. Experience the next one. Let it go. Experience the next one. Don't worry about comparing memories to memories. It doesn't matter if it's we have all these little statements that we say, oh, it's the best thing I ever had. Oh, that was the best this and the best that. I get it. I'm not saying that you can't say it. Just know the powers of your words if you're going to store it. You know, if you store that inside, don't store it inside. Don't hold on to that. That's not for you. It was the fact that you were alive for the moment. You were awake for it. You got to experience it. It sent all this stuff through your body that you got to experience. The real you, the one that's back there, the consciousness experiencing everything, the one who sees what your eyes see, the one who hears what your thoughts are, the one who feels what your body feels. That one. That's the real you. What are you applying to your body? What are you applying to your thoughts? What kind of rules and filters and things are you putting in place that you are trying to force life through? Because that's the funny thing. Energy is flowing up all the time. It's moving up. That's how it's described. Flow, the flow, the net. Even Jesus described it as the unending, the spring of water, the unending spring of water. Right. I grew up on tons of natural springs where I was, and they just come up. I was always fascinated by them. I used to wonder, if you swam far enough and got deep enough and far back enough, can you find where the the two H's and the one O are connecting? Right? Where's the gas? Where's the hydrogen and oxygen connecting that's making all this water? Because it's massive amounts of water. It blows my mind. And anyways, welcome to ADHD. So you are the one behind it all. You're the one experiencing all the things. You are the one that's hearing the story that your mind is telling you. You get to choose if you buy in. And there's all kinds of stuff back there. This is the reality of, as humans, none of us asked to be here. Every single one of us that's ever existed is the byproduct of other people's choices. And depending on who those people were, we got spun out into the world. Whether that's good, whether that's doesn't matter, whether that's terrible. This morning at the bus stop with my daughter, one of her friends, me and her dad got to talking, and he lived a hard life. He even texted me later, said he doesn't mind me sharing this. He knows what I do. He lived a hard life. It was alcoholic parents to foster care to now living in a way where he stopped it. Curse ended with him. He knows what it's like to come from it, and now he does everything he can to provide a stable life for himself and his family. And that is one of the most honorable things you can do. As a human right now, if you're in the age of where you're a parent, the most honorable thing you can do is end all the bullshit for your kids. They're going to have their own. Don't give them yours. It's giving them useful tools to create beliefs, useful ways to learn how to see the world. Not you can only look at the world this way. It's teaching them how to be good at being human. That's the skill. That's why I have a class coming up in September that I'm teaching, a 4-week workshop, using your humanity on purpose. How to get out of the rough draft version of your life. That is available to all of us. It's what I am so passionate about because I've done it for myself. I've freed myself from the things I didn't ask for to live my full potential life. I did it. It's what I believe humans are meant to do. Because when you get to that place, when you have freed yourself that way, then you'll have an understanding about the work you want to do, the impact you want to make while you're here. And it slows everything down. You can understand where you are in the life cycle of being human. Just the fact there are realities that exist for us that science has proven, that understand them, leverage them to your benefit. It's not a race anywhere in life. We're not trying to rush to somewhere. We're trying to live well right now. And right now. And right now, with the moment that is right in front of us, the one we are currently dealing with, how are you living through it? Are you spending it thinking about another moment that's super terrible you're hoping doesn't happen? Not helpful. Are you spending it super pissed off because of what is happening? Also not helpful. Anger is one of the most deceptive emotions that we deal with, convinces us that we're justifiable in it. However, being raised the way I was and connected to Christianity for a very long time, just the friend, all parts of it, as many as you can imagine, Pentecostalism, Reformed Evangelical, Southern Baptist, just non-denominational, that includes a bunch, all in this stuff. There's one thing in one part of the story that I was thinking about where no one ever said it this way. And if you go study what it was like in year zero, when this was actually taking place, how Rome ruled somewhere, just what was happening, you have to go study history and understand antiquity of what was life like when the people were alive. They did not know anything after the days they were not around. So you don't get to apply anything we know today. You don't get to apply anything we know for 2,000 years, right? All that information, you don't get to apply it. You can see it through it, but they didn't know. So you don't get to apply what they didn't know to how they were going about their life. What'd they call it? What were they doing? How'd they go about their society? I tell you what you didn't do. You did not cause major disturbances. As a friend I met last week, Lucas Mack, he said, rule had one rule. They did this, one rule, submit or die. So it went. You went around messing things up, didn't do it. And if you what's so interesting about Jesus's message, and then this story about what happened at the temple right before he died, and the way that story gets told, seems so out of character, because Jesus was always talked about as, right, this guy who was, calm and meek. He's perfect, right? Never did anything wrong, is how that story gets told. However, what comes along with the way that gets told is, in this time period, go look at it for yourself, because I have no way to describe it, but you can't imagine what it would have been like in that time period in Jerusalem at the temple that day, and how big of a business this was. This was millions of animals and massive amounts of money and people all exchanging hands. There was this system and a process. And you're talking about someone coming in there who got real angry about it and broke a bunch of it irreparably. It was very manually driven, right? Also 2,000 years ago. And the problem with that is that's not helpful at all. And in the way those stories get told, it almost seems like there's at some point in time in your life this justifiable anger. That's a poor story we've been told. Anger is a very deceptive emotion that convinces us of things that are not necessary, because you do not need to be a self-consumer of your own woes. Doesn't deny reality. It's just very careful when something, even something you quote think is justifiable, is causing it. Typically, when you react and respond in that way, you are going to have a reciprocating response now for a while. Creates a cycle. It is a very hard thing to do, to stop it. But it's up to you, because getting angry never fixed anything. It never made anything better. It never helped with anything. It is a destructive vibration in nature. It doesn't make it bad. I'm saying anger is bad. It exists. We have to acknowledge it. Everything has its nature. Study deep enough, everything is a vibration. Anger, that emotion, it is a vibration, and it's a low vibration that we tune into really well. That's why a lot of people like it. Why a lot of folks identify with the Incredible Hulk. I just get real angry and explode, and then I can't think. Not helpful. That's a part of the myth we don't need to keep passing on. You are the self-consumer of your woes. I am the self-consumer of my woes. Don't consume them. You can choose not to. That's the way you return to that childlike state where inspiration is in every moment. You're in awe as a kid because it's stuff you feel like everything you see is something you've never seen before. And then as we get older, we see it, and then we see, let's say it's a kind of tree. I love to look at trees. I'm fascinated by them. So you see oak trees. Oak trees are real popular where I'm from, particular kind, water oak trees, right? And I would see water oak trees when I lived in all these different places in Florida. Huh. And all of a sudden, then it just wasn't a tree to me anymore, right? You get familiarity breeds contempt. You start losing the ability to see it. You, at a point in your life, you have to remind yourself again, re-crank it up. Heck, it's the essence of the story of Peter Pan, of you got to reconnect to that child version. Don't lose that. And the Robin Williams one, right? Where he's remembering how to fly, putting back together. Oh, that's how you do it. But it's coming from inside. The flow's already there. We are naturally, when you're a kid, you were naturally happy. When awesome stuff happened, you got happier. It was just, oh, wow, this is the best. I love how often I hear my kids tell me, this is the best day ever, Dad. Perfect. That's amazing. Say it quite often. So you're experiencing it. You're letting the old one go, letting the new one come in. Every day can be the best day ever. Now, is that going to be the reality? You dig deep enough into spiritual practices, right? We got to dig deep. We haven't taken the time to go as deep as you can get there, to where you truly do understand that it is not about what I experienced today. It's magical that I just get to. I will be mindful about what I do today. And mindfulness is doing, I will do everything today with all my heart, from my heart, and I'll be grateful, which is I'll believe that this is happening for me. From those two places, mindfulness and gratefulness is where life honors you back. I've lived it out over and over again through really hard times of finding a place to get to mindfulness and gratefulness. Viktor Frankl wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He talks about this, how he did it when he was in concentration camp during the Holocaust, how he watched people around him die in all the different ways it happened, and how he realized that no one could take away how he chose to see life. He chose what he calls to see daisies in the mud. And my life was not that hard. I know people have been through much harder. And the ones who have taken the time to grow, which is the most fascinating thing, that keep, did not become addicts to self-consuming their own woes, woaholics, they'll agree with every word I just said, for the most part, from their point of view. Because when you take the time to grow through it, if you're going to go through it, grow through it. That's the thing a lot of us don't want to hear. Those stored up painful places, you have to walk through them if you want to be free. You don't get to hold on to them, and they'll hold you hostage forever. And what's nuts is it's you doing it to you. You've sold yourself this story that you say you have to believe with all your heart. You can give yourself a new story to believe. Walking through the pain is worth it. I promise you. Promise you. As someone who's done it, everything you want is on the other side. Everything you want is on the other side of hard in reality. But everything you want is there. And then what it also shows you is what you actually really wanted. I talk to a lot of people and work with them, and a lot of times we struggle with what do you want? Huh. If I was to ask you and get you to really get centered and really focus on what do I want? What do you want? There's some people that there's an inner knowing. They know. A lot of times they have done a ton of personal development because along the way you realize that a lot of the wants that we've stored up, they aren't really what we want. They're just stuff other people told us to want. Sometimes we've got to go through the experience of getting it to realize it's not what we really want. Other times we can learn from others and realize, okay, I don't want to go that route. But more often we can do that latter one. You get to sidestep and jump ahead in certain experiences in life. Now that is something that's possible. When you start not buying into your self woes, when you quit becoming a self-consumer of your woes, you get out of your own way. You are not as far as you would like to be in your life because you are in your own way. That's radical responsibility. And if you're doing everything you can and it's still not doing it, then it's in your head. You're buying into stories that you're the victim of something that's not allowing you to go get or achieve or do this other thing. And that's changing the story, buying into something new. You have that power. You get to change the story whenever you want. And I'm going to tell you this, if you're going to grow, if you're going to go and grow in life, you need to know how to change the story. The skill of letting an old belief go and changing it into a new one is necessary for life because you're going to get older. And life has this thing about as you age, it lets you see it in a way that you've never seen it before because you've never been that old before. And because our consciousness does keep with it and learn as we go, you now get to see it with all that added in. When we keep ourselves nice and clean on the inside and have a good way of thinking, then when we add that wisdom to it, you become unstoppable. There's nothing you can't do. And then you really tap into what is it that you really want. And that's that same thing. For me, it is to be a speaker. That is what I really want to do. I want to be on stage and to share this story and these things that I write because I love to do that. And I've been able to circle back and realize I have loved to do that for a long time. A long time. Almost 30 years now that I can remember having that desire. And that's awesome. That's amazing because for a long time I didn't realize that and I'd lost that. But through this process that I'm talking about, I've spoken about in this video, of unclogging yourself. Don't become a consumer of your woes. Let them go when they pop up. It's okay. It doesn't matter if it's true. Let it go. It's not helping you. It is not helping you by holding on to it. Have this power. You can do this. You can free yourself and live your full potential life. It's letting go. And you can learn what that means if you don't know what it means. Feel free to ask me questions anytime. If you're interested in this workshop I talked about, put a comment down there. Check on my page. I got a bunch of posts about it there. It's coming up on September 23rd. It's a 4-week workshop, using your humanity on purpose. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your support. And so long from the shed. Happy Wednesday.